fans, welcome back to Room 237 as I continue my marathon of 80 slash films. And this is one that I actually own. I've owned this for quite some time, actually. I was trying to save it for the month of October for Halloween, but I've got a plethora of anthologies to get to for the whole month of October. So I figured, why not do it now? I'm doing 80 slashers, so why not? That is the 1981 made-for-TV movie, Dark Night of the Scarecrow, which I actually have never seen until just now. Yeah, I bought this a while ago for like $4. I was like, I'll set it up to the side, my anthologies, that will be my October month. But then I was like, let's watch one with actual, good resolution, not YouTube. And I don't think I've done a made-for-TV movie yet, so kind of cool this is the first. And I have to say, I really liked this movie. Didn't feel like made-for-TV. Other than the fact, it's not a blood and gore film, but it's one that can get away without it. Because it's well written, really good performances, at least for the most part. And, I mean, just look at some of the quotes on here. Marvelous. I was terrified. Vincent Price. Scary as hell. Stuart Gordon, director of Reanimator. Along with a few other Lovecraft films, which I've done on here. But it stars Charles Durning, who's a character actor that I've always enjoyed. I can't remember his name on Everybody Loves Raymond. He plays the priest for the Barones, but I also know him as Sergeant Moretti in Dog Day Afternoon. Great Al Pacino film. And the story's pretty simple. You have this town simpleton named Bubba. He's got the mind of a child. He hangs out with this young girl, what's her name? Mary Lynn, I think her name was. Mary Lee. And just for some reason, the male guy, Charles Durning, just gets the idea that he's dangerous. He's a simpleton, he's got the mind of a child. At first, I think it's trying to lean towards, I think he's a pervert. I think he's going to touch that girl. Someone should stop him. And that's the kind of movie this is. Like, the more it goes, the more it kind of goes against your expectations, or at least it did mine. I thought they were going to look at him as like a pervert. No, they just think he's dangerous somehow. So he goes and talks to this one guy named Hollis, or Harless, played by Lane Smith, who he's been in a lot of stuff. I mean, he played Perry White in Lois and Clark. He was the mayor in Red Dawn. He was in The Mighty Ducks. He played Nixon in The Final Days. He was in My Cousin Vinny. He was in Son-in-Law with Pauly Shore. He talks to him about, he's with that girl again. He's gonna do something. He's gonna, he's dangerous. So Bubba and Mary Lee, they're walking around. They come up to this backyard that it's fenced in, but it's very decorated with like bird baths and gnomes. There's a way in through the fence. She wants to go look around. Bubba's supposed to hold the plank open for her. And there's this really mean dog. She's attacked by the dog. Bubba runs in, goes to the door, gives the mother the girl. And it's a small southern rural town. Word gets out, so Charles Durning, Lane Smith, and these two other guys, mechanic and a guy that works at a silo. They must have been planning this for a while because, you know, Charles Durning tells Lane Smith to get the dogs and the guns. So they get in the truck, they pull up and they just go like this to the other two guys and they hop in. They know exactly what they're doing. They go all the way to, you know, he's running through the woods. He gets to his mother. She's like, okay, we're going to play the hiding game. Remember when we did that last time they chased you? And so he hides, and of course they're there. They got their guns. Saying, you know, he killed this girl. And he better come out. You know, like, you're obstructing justice. She's like, you're not the law. You're on my property. Which supposedly the sheriff did put out volunteers on this. The dogs pick up a scent. They go out into the field and they see a scarecrow. Charles Durning's about to pull him off. Then he starts looking, and he starts looking at the mask, and he looks through it. He can see above his eyes. You know, his eyes are always bugging out of his head. Of course, he's terrified, so he's whimpering, he's shaking. Get this intense scene where he's like checking him out. He sees him. He backs up, takes out his pistol, and they just open fire. They just fill him full of bullets. And then on Hollis's radio, guy comes in, he's like, hey, sheriff called off the search. Apparently, you know, the girl's fine. She's being released from the doctors. She was attacked by so-and-so's dog. Turns out Bubba actually saved her life. And so Charles Durning just takes out a pitchfork, leans it up against Bubba. And then you can probably see where it's going. They committed this horrible crime against an innocent, and they get their just desserts. Now, it's a slasher film in the sense that, yeah, it's a body count, but it's not a scarecrow like running around killing these guys. It's more of a psychological slasher film. Touch of supernatural, which this is how you do a supernatural slasher film. Like this, I already like this film quite a bit, but compared to The Boogeyman, this might as well be like Halloween. And so, you know, they go to court. Of course, they were acquitted because they say they fired warning shots, and he wouldn't back down. They had to, you know, defend themselves against a pitchfork, and they were acquitted. And of course, Charles, it was kind of cool to see him play a bad guy, and he really does play a good bad guy in this. You know, two different kinds of bad guys. Like one who at first is really cocky, you know, like when he shows up at Bubba's mother's house to deliver a package because he's the mailman. Of course, she hates his guts, but he's all smiles and cocky because he got off. He's pretty much fine. And then just the paranoia kicks in. It's a slasher because these guys are being picked off one by one. But, you know, like Hollis is doing yard work and his wife notices a scarecrow out in their field that he didn't put there. And so it's basically like this dirty little secret amongst these four men, which every time something happens, like when the scarecrow appears, they all meet back up somewhere, like at the post office or where he works or somewhere, and they talk about it. I'm going to get into spoilers. It is for free on YouTube as well. If you haven't seen it, definitely give it a look. It's a different kind of slasher. Don't go into it thinking you're going to get like a Friday the 13th bloodbath. Again, it's made for TV, 1981. But it's really interesting. It's interesting how it plays out. Charles Durning gives a great performance. but I already like him anyway. It's a good revenge kind of slasher, but I'm gonna get into spoilers. But definitely check it out if you haven't already. Lane Smith, Hollis, is the first one to go. He's in his barn. His wood chipper turns on, and it's not like he gets pushed. He, like, I think he trips or whatever, and the railing of the loft in his barn breaks, and he's hanging on to this light. Of course, he falls. We get the idea of what happened. And that's the thing. We don't ever see the Scarecrow walk around. We get the idea that someone is putting this Scarecrow somewhere and then just going around, you know, plotting these deaths for these guys. It was ruled as an accident. The other three guys go to his barn late at night. Charles Durning puts a stick down in the gas tank, sees that it's, you know, full, which if it was an accident, it'd be empty. It would just run. It would just keep running till it shut off. But it was almost full, which means someone turned it on, then turned it off. So that's when they know that someone's after them. And at first, Durning thinks it's the mother, which the next guy, I don't know the guy's name, but the guy that works at the silo, I think he, like, hears something. He runs to hide in the empty silo, and it's locked. He can't get out. Then it fills up. Ultimately, he suffocates, but I guess you could say he drowned in grain. Of course, it fills up, like, just, like, all that's sticking out is his hand and the flashlight. It was just enough to suffocate him. And so that's when Durning goes to her house. And, you know, he sneaks up behind her and tells her, I warned you. Because he did warn her once already. He's like, I know what you're doing. You're playing a trick on us with the Scarecrow. You're stalking us. Cut the shit. So he covered her mouth and telling her, you know, seriously, stop it. You know, we're even. Which actually, no, I think it was before the silo guy gets killed. It was just after Hollis. He's like, okay, if this, I know it's you. You killed one of ours. We're even. And when he moves his hand away, like, it didn't look like he was covering her nose. Maybe he was. Maybe she died of a heart attack. It was one or the other. But she's dead. He freaks out. Her tea kettle's going off. So he turns her oven off, but then he thinks, oh, okay. And he turns the gas on. I thought it was going to be so it could look like the gas killed her. But her fireplace is going and her house explodes. And you get this intense scene where the camera, like, starts way back here. And it's slowly, bit by bit, zooms into the stove burner with the gas and the fireplace. It's like, and she doesn't really. She talks about Bubba like he's still around. He's still playing the hiding game. She's terrified of Charles Durning. And the girl wasn't annoying or anything. I thought she did fine. So then the silo guy gets it. And after he gets it, the mechanic is really starting to lose it. So they decide to prove to themselves that Bubba is in fact dead. So they dig up his grave. They open it. They see he's in there. So they know it's got to be someone else that's after us. So then Charles Durning has him get back down in the hole, close it up so they can start to cover it back up. And he just hits him with a shovel and kills him and then buries him with it. And I wasn't quite sure why. I guess to protect himself. Oh, because the guy, I think he was going to tell someone about what was going on. So he decides to save himself, kills his old friend. He starts drinking, driving the mail truck. So then he's driving down this back road and he sees Mary Lee. So then he like wrecks the mail Jeep, starts chasing after her. They're out in a field and he's like holding her, yelling at her like, I don't, like at this point he even thinks this young girl has been setting up all these deaths. But then this tractor turns on and we see the inside of the tractor, like the levers are moving on its own. There's the supernatural element. So we get it's like the spirit of Bubba, which is all right. I mean, the supernatural elements are really downplayed. It's not like a Blumhouse film. So the tractor is like one of these buckets that like, it's got the bucket and then like this thing coming down on it. It's chasing him. And like any other movie where someone's being chased, they just run straight. They don't dart left to right. Tractors take a while to turn. He's like looking behind him, and just as he looks, he runs right up against the Scarecrow, which is holding the pitchfork. So he runs into it, stabs himself. And so then Mary Lee walks up, and the ending shot is the Scarecrow lifting his hand that has a flower. She goes for it, says, "Thank you, Bubba. Tomorrow I'll teach you a new game." And it freezes on that. Because it, and the new game is going to be called the Chasing Game. Because in the beginning of the film, they were picking flowers, and he kept handing crushed ones to her. And she was like, "No, you got to do it by the stem." So it ended with him handing one to her by the stem. So yeah, it was more so like the spirit of Bubba was making all this shit happen. But I guess in the presence of the Scarecrow. And I mean, yeah, I thought it was going to be sort of like that Goosebumps episode where it's a Scarecrow. You know, Scarecrow walks at midnight. Scarecrow going around slashing people. But this was different in a refreshing way. It's like, okay, the Scarecrow appears, and then something bad happens. It was a revenge story that you buy. You know, these asshole redneck guys. I'll say rednecks are assholes, but you know, these four particular ones, these four assholes, you know, have been out to get this challenge guy for a while. He did something good. They thought wrong. They thought what they wanted to think. They kill him when he actually did a good thing. And his spirit sort of manifests itself as the Scarecrow. And they die these fairly gruesome deaths. I mean, the wood chipper, I imagine it would be quick, but it'd probably still suck. The silo scene would be terrifying, because you pretty much just gotta wait for that thing to fill up and just wait. The third guy didn't even know what hit him. But Charles Durning was definitely a blast to watch. He's a great character actor. He did a great job in this. I liked the story, thought it was well written. I liked that the supernatural elements were very subdued, very, you know, very low-key. This is how you do a supernatural slasher film. This is the polar opposite of The Boogeyman. I really liked Dark Night of the Scarecrow. Thank you for watching.